But my friend, Nasser, was led to believe that his infection, based on a result of a non-specific test, was a result of his one-time sexual act with her. And yet, after his diagnosis, he continued having unprotected sex with a number of girls, one of whom he worked with and had the opportunity to engage in sexual intercourse unprotected almost on a daily basis for almost a year, until she discovered that he was registered as a HIV positive. So she then took the initiative to go and test and was told she was HIV negative. So, of course, the anomaly in his mind was, how can he, bearing in mind that it's supposed to be more difficult for men to contract STDs from women than vice versa, why should he test positive because he's had a one-off encounter with someone else who's presumed to be positive, and then afterwards not be able to infect someone else whom he's had sex with almost every day for a year, a girl. So he must have pondered over this anomaly for some time, and I asked him in an interview if he'd ever asked his doctor for an explanation, and he said he had. And the response from the doctor was apparently that people who are fortunate enough to have a certain blood group can be immune if they have blood group O. So my friend then pointed out that his blood group was O. So therefore, if that theory has any weight, he should be the one who tested negative. And apparently the doctor had no explanation after all.
Can you talk about your arrest in Kampala on the 10th of May 2008?
Yeah. I'd previously attended a public event that was designed to promote HIV testing among the poorest of the poor in a particular suburb of Kampala. And coincidentally, this slum area where they held this public event in a field that was all set up with a stage and some performers. There were activists with t-shirts and impressive messages, colourful messages, banners, and tents nearby in another part of the field where people, predominantly children, could come with their parents and be tested using what they term as HIV tests. And they were even blatantly advertising that it should be the sick children who should test if they were sickly. It was mentioned on the leaflets. And from what I saw in these tents that were set up were hundreds of people waiting in line to be pre-counselled, tested, and then post-counselled while they waited for their results. And the parents would also have the free opportunity to test themselves while they were waiting. This is in an area where, as I said before, the poorest of the poor people in that suburb live. So there's no entertainment normally if people have free time and are not working to survive. They don't go out to the theatre or to the cinema or turn on the television. So it's a particularly good strategy on the side of the organisers of this event to set up a stage and give a free performance and send out the messages through mega speakers to attract hundreds of people from the surrounding community, and give out free t-shirts to anybody who agrees to test. That would be the pretext, I'm 100% sure, that led to my arrest 3 weeks later when I attended a similar event in another suburb organised by the same NGO, which is funded by the American Defense and CDC. I was arrested at this second attempt. First of all, I should add that what I had done while I attended the first event was to go around with a video camera and record conversations I had had with activists about the tests and about the diagnoses that they hand out and the treatments, and video recorded the event itself with the tents, the performance going on the makeshift stage, raised above the ground in the field, and the activity inside the tents. And I was asked to leave by the head of security, or at least told that I wasn't allowed to film. By that time I was prepared to go anyway. I'd spent 2 hours there. Upon the next occasion, 2-3 weeks later, I had arrived with a friend who wasn't particularly involved in this campaign, and as soon as we'd arrived, without getting my camera out of my bag, in fact we'd arrived and seen that the event hadn't started yet, so we decided to go into a restaurant and drink tea. And a few seconds after entering the restaurant, we were accompanied by what turned out to be CID officers, 3, I remember, and we were both placed under arrest, and we remained in their custody for 30 hours for myself and 60 hours for Mustafa, and were subject to interrogation, both together and separately, and held and interrogated at what's referred to by Ugandans as a safe house, which is a military, secret military institution. Both of us were shuffled into a car. I don't know, our heads were covered. I was forced to lie on the floor of the back of the car, and my head was covered, and somebody sat on the seat above me and used his legs to keep me forced down throughout the whole duration of travelling to this safe house from the central police station in Kampala.
Was you tortured?
I wasn't physically abused at all.
What about your friend?
He was mishandled by 5 different soldiers at the safe house where he was detained, and asked questions about me and about what I was doing in Uganda. His head was smashed against the ground, against the floor. He'd hit with a stick across the backs of the knees, and he was basically pushed from one soldier to the other, presumably in order to intimidate him.
What was your experience of AIDS in Africa?
Of the half a dozen African girlfriends I've related to over the years, have themselves not been particularly sexually promiscuous.